We believe that there's a need to look at transforming the ICC itself, review how it actually functions, and on our side, make our own observations as an organization, but together with all other parties, determine how best to then make a presentation about fairness, about transparency, about consistency. Further than that, we are also, as the organization, because we domesticated the Rome Statute, we are now in the process of looking at that so that then we take ourselves off the burden of just having to be compliant without raising our concerns on what influences a particular decision against any individual or institution.
The other issue is NATO. As we speak, NATO is preparing to have a summit. What is your message to NATO member countries looking at the current geopolitics?
The immediate thing is that the perpetuation of military aggression against any nation does not bring any peaceful solution. And therefore, in that summit, we hope that they would also be able to review how they use their position to an extent that it antagonizes neighbors, as we see it in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The issues around expansion and the movement against what was a previous agreement about the placement of NATO camps next to Russia. And where we are now, we also believe that NATO has to, once more, not use the summit to, amongst others, show their might and arrogance or mobilize for any justification against attack of any country or nation.
When you look at the geopolitics also, in relation to the de-dollarization, there's a huge debate around use of other currencies when particularly BRICS member countries are having agreements and trade. What is your proposal as the governing party?
We support diversification. We support diversification so that then there can be opportunities that come for any investor and those that will benefit out of any form of investment. And that currency cannot be currency that is informed by the promotion of a unipolar world, because that has been the historical dominance of the dollar. As emerging markets, we need to also promote intra-trade. We need to promote also a consolidation of our capacity, our resources, and our infrastructure against the developed nations, so that then they themselves can see us as a market, but a market that is not submissive to them.
The other issue, you spoke about the other parties that we have invited. Yes, you have these parties who are part of the member countries, but you also indicated that you've invited 54 other parties. You spoke about the Pan-Africanist Congress. Maybe a question would be, in South Africa, why only the PAC? You still have other like-minded parties that are proclaiming to be Pan-African, but also socialist, like your EFF, your AZAPOs.
We've invited the PAC. We've looked at what our objectives are in this instance. And if there's going to be another multi-party platform like a parliamentary process, all those parties that are in parliament will be invited and participate in that parliamentary process. In this instance, consistent with the template of the criteria, it is only the PAC that qualifies.
And finally, across the board, across our border, the elections in Zimbabwe, ANC being a sister party to ZANU-PF, there are so many issues in relation to the economic crisis in that country. What is the ANC's message to stakeholders, all of them in Zim ahead of elections?
Firstly, we must appreciate that, albeit all the challenges in Zimbabwe, they continue to hold periodic elections. That is something that we must appreciate. And the next thing that we also have to appreciate is that we have a number of international observers, missions that are already in Zimbabwe. We hope that they will assist us in dealing with the environment for campaigning and going into a free and fair election, and make the necessary observations and interventions where necessary. A peaceful election in Zimbabwe must bring an enabling environment for Zimbabwe to prosper, but we also know that some of the constraints and the challenges that Zimbabwe is going through has got nothing to do with the people of Zimbabwe, but it has to do with the posture that other countries in the world have taken against Zimbabwe, like the issues of sanctions. We have to actually still say there can be those periodic elections in Zimbabwe, but as long as Zimbabwe is being deprived of the right to trade and the right to do whatever that any other free society is expected to do, they will continue to have challenges, and our country, South Africa, will suffer that instability in Zimbabwe.
The other issue is Orlando Pirates. You touched on Orlando Pirates participating in this international competition, but there are concerns that one of the countries that is going to be there is Israel, and the concerns that Orlando Pirates must boycott a match against Israel. You say that you've discussed this. What's the way forward?
The way forward is that we must bring to the table the discussions around cultural boycott and other boycotts against Israel. We have to be, as a liberation movement, working together with the people of South Africa, look at what else do we have to do. Yes, we can have protests, we can have pickets, but there are these issues such as cultural boycott that we need to come back and discuss. We need to look at the multilateral institutions and the need for them to take a stance against apartheid Israel. And in this instance, Orlando Pirates is amongst the 30 other teams that are involved in this tournament, and in it you then find a team from Israel. What we also have to look at is the very bodies such as FIFA, the very bodies such as CAF, and so on. Just yesterday, our Banyana won against Morocco. You remember? They played against Morocco, whilst we have a stance against Morocco on Sahrawi. So we need, as a country, to look at those issues. And in this instance, say, within the rules of FIFA and within the rules of the league that Orlando Pirates participate in, together with the Israeli team, they will have to look at what is it that they can do to express their concerns about the situation in Palestine, as they have announced in their statement, which we broadly welcome.